Hi, this is Elizabeth with Callie's Clips and Crochet Creations. I recently discovered a new stitch that's a single crochet cluster, and I just love the way that it works up. It has a beautiful texture. If it lines up nice, it looks like little post stitches, but it's not. It's just so squishy. It kind of reminds me of a popcorn stitch, but not as thick. So it gives you kind of little bobbles, but I just really love it. So I've been designing a lot of things with it. So that's the up close shot of the single crochet clusters. But I have had questions on how to work it. It's a little bit different. So I thought I would show you how to work that up today. I recently used it in my Aubrey hat. I used it here to kind of give the, not the brim, but kind of just the edging here, the center of that. Where I would put a ribbon, but just give it a little bit of texture. I just love the simple detail of it, but how easy it was to work it up. I also am releasing a scarf today. If it's not up, it will be up soon. I did it for this scarf in particular. I used some variegated yarn so you can't see it as well, but it just lines up gorgeously, and I just really like the stitch. So let's get into how to work the single crochet cluster. And that's what I'm calling it. There's not really a specific name, but it is a cluster stitch with single crochets. So here I have an H hook and some worsted weight. I love this yarn. I have already worked a row of 10 single crochet to get us started. For this sample here, I'm going to show you how to work it in rows. I may do another video on how to work it in rounds, as it does need to be done just a little bit different to make sure you line up correctly. But for this tutorial, let's just show how to work it in rows today. So starting with those 10 single crochet, we're at the end of the row. We need to get ready to turn. So let's chain one and turn. Simply, we're going to work a single crochet in our first stitch. And that is stitch number one. Now this begins our cluster. What we're going to do, as it says in the directions, is pull up a loop in the same stitch as last stitch made. Our last stitch made was a single crochet, so we're going to work into that same exact space right there where we made the single crochet, and we're going to pull up a loop. That gives us 2 loops on the hook. We are now going to work in pulling up loops in the next 2 stitches. So insert your hook into the next stitch. Simply pull up a loop. That gives us 3. We're going to go into the next stitch and pull up that 4th loop. That gives us 4 loops on our hook. We're going to take our yarn and yarn over our hook and pull through all 4 of those loops. Then you will finish that off with a chain 1. Now I recommend that you do not chain 1 too tightly, as in the next row we're actually going to be working in that chain 1 space. So try not to do it too tight, just a little bit loose, and be mindful. This will begin our repeat of that across. So again, we are going to pull up a loop in the same stitch as the last stitch made. So that would be this space where we pulled up that last loop. So again, pull up a loop and then pull up a loop in the next 2. There's 1 and 2. That gives us our 4 loops. Let's yarn over and pull through all 4. And then you will chain 1. I should have brought a glass of water. Excuse me, my throat is dry today. And remember, chain 1 loosely. Let's repeat that 2 more times. So pull up a loop, pull up a loop, and pull up a loop for a total of 4 on our hook. Yarn over, pull through to form the cluster, and chain 1 loosely. And let's do 1 more that will fit. Pull up a loop, pull up a loop, pull up a loop. That gives us 4. Yarn over, pull through all 4, and chain 1 loosely. That brings us to 1 stitch left. We are not going to work into the last stitch made. We're going to just simply single crochet right into that last stitch. There's a single crochet, and at the end of the row we will chain 1, or if the directions say something else, make sure you follow those directions, but this is just for this particular stitch, not a particular pattern. So we're going to again repeat that row going the other direction, and it's just slightly different because now we have the texture stitching on top. And this is where it can get a little tricky if you're not sure where to work those stitches. So we have a single crochet already at the end. We're going to simply single crochet in our first stitch. So our single crochets at the ends of the beginnings of the rows should line up right on top of each other. And again, we're going to do the same thing we did and pull up a loop in the same stitch as last stitch made. So the single crochet is here. We're going to pull up a loop in that same stitch, pull up one. Our next stitch is our chain one space from the last row. So we will pull up a loop in that chain one space and pull up a loop in the next stitch. And pull through all four and chain one loosely so that we can work on it again. So we're going to repeat that across the row. So insert your hook in last stitch made, pull up a loop, insert into the chain, and the chain should always be the third loop. That when you're working into the chain space, it'll be that third loop. We want to make sure that those line up correctly. It's not usually a problem on rows, but when you get into the rounds and turning, you'll know if you forgot to turn that it won't line up correctly. But again, I will talk about that in another video, or I might tag it in on the end here if we don't take too long. So let's do another one of those clusters. We're going to pull up a loop, pull up the third loop through that chain space. That one's a little tight, oops. And then pull up a loop through the next stitch. So they're not too hard to work in, but I find if I kind of just pull up a little bit more and with a loose hand. Oh, I guess my puppy's joining our video. She wants to be close to me. I apologize. Trying to get better at making videos. I hope this is one of my better ones. We've certainly come a long way. We're going to work one more cluster stitch here. Remember to do those loosely. And I've got a fuzz ball there. That's nice. Okay. Okay, so pull through all four of those, chain one loosely, and single crochet in our very last stitch since we are to the end of the row. It's funny the things you find when you're making a video when you don't normally notice. I do not strive for perfect videos. I say those every time. Fuzzballs, go away. Okay, so we're at the end of the row. Let's chain one, and that is 2 rows of the cluster stitches there, and they line up just beautifully. I would love to do one more row just to show you the full texture of it, and generally when I've used it, I have done 3 rows. So we're going to go ahead and turn and complete one more row. So to begin, you will again single crochet in our first stitch, and we'll go back and start pulling up our loops in the last stitch made. So pull up a loop, the next loop should be through the chain, and then pull up a loop through the next stitch, pull through all 4 with the yarn over, chain one loosely, and repeat. So looping in the last stitch made, looping through that chain stitch, and through the next stitch. That gives us 4, yarn over, pull through, and to chain one loosely, you may even want to pull it up just a little bit so you have space to work in there. I wasn't doing that very well. And we'll repeat that for the next cluster stitch. Oops. And through the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 4, chain one loosely, and we'll work our final one. So loop, loop through the next, which is the chain, loop through the next. There's our 4, yarn over, pull through, chain one loosely, and single crochet. Now on the scarf, I don't continue to repeat that pattern. I add in a nice little row to break it up. That row I think is half double crochets, so you would simply just half double crochet on top of each stitch. So that would give you 1, and you'll work evenly across, including going through the chain. So there's 2, and just keep working those across through each of the stitches. 3, it should be even, so let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which is absolutely perfect. So you want to make sure you work through each stitch, each chain when working evenly across. We'll chain 1 just to hold it. And there's our little mini swatch there. So we have a row of single crochet here, and then we worked 3 rows of that texture stitch, give it a nice little kind of wavy, fluffy, clustery stitch, and then finished it off with a half double crochet. So I hope that helps you in learning how I worked the single crochet cluster for this. If you have any questions, let me know. I will make a second video for working this stitch in the round, as it is similar, but you do need to turn at the ends of the rows to keep the stitch from going crooked. So thank you. For more videos and tutorials, please subscribe. It's something I'm hoping to add into the future. I do share this channel along with my other blog, Simply Everyday Elizabeth, so you will see those if you do subscribe. I haven't separated those out, as that will be a lot of work, and I like to keep it together just to keep everything in one beautiful place. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I will link the crochet patterns that I use this stitch for in the comments below. Thank you, and crochet on. Have fun.